it's Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, where we carry the largest selection of wood flowers in the United States. Welcome back to another tutorial. It is officially 2024. Are we excited? I am. So today, this tutorial is going to be a ton of fun. I gave our Instagram followers in particular a choice. I asked, which of these two images would you say is a romantic bouquet? And the majority, pretty overwhelmingly, went with option B, this lovely pink and purple piece. So that is what we're gonna make today. We're also gonna be working with our airbrush because I need to dye some flowers and I don't wanna wait for them to dry. So we're gonna do that as well in this tutorial. So it's a little bit of a twofer. We're going to dye a few flowers with our airbrush and then we will make the lovely arrangement as close to we're inspired by. We're not going to make it exactly the same, but we're definitely going to be heavily inspired by that particular arrangement, including the shape and the colors. So let's jump into it. First things up, let's airbrush some flowers. Now, before we get going, one thing I like to do or ask you to do is if you're loving this channel, can't get enough, wanna know the next time we post a video, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to also find out about the 150 style wood flowers we carry along with craft supplies and greenery. Go over to ohyourlovely.com, but before you do, use the code YouTube30 to get 30% off one regular priced order. Okay, let's talk about the supplies that we're going to need for airbrushing. Now, when it comes to airbrushing, you can go very fancy with an airbrush gun, or you can start at kind of a base level or basics level. I would suggest probably somewhere in the middle. I would not grab an airbrush from Harbor Freight. It's just my personal opinion. I did get my air compressor there and I absolutely love it. I was not a big fan of their airbrushes, however. The airbrushes I would suggest getting first are, I need to look up the name of the brand. How I forgot this, I have no idea, but it's Master Airbrush. They have a lot of different options. I've had a lot of good luck with them in the past, but I did this last year, upgrade my airbrush. Thanks to actually a recommendation from Maggie at our warehouse, we do airbrush a lot of the wood flowers for our custom dyed assortments. And yeah, she really liked this one. So I don't know how to pronounce the brand. It's Grex, I think, G-R-E-X. And it's, their branding is this like bright green. It is a little bit of a higher price point for an airbrush. I would suggest upgrading once you've airbrushed a little while. If you enjoy the process, you may want just a little bit of a nicer airbrush, and this one definitely delivers. So you need an airbrush and a compressor. My compressor, as mentioned, I got from Harbor Freight. It's just a central pneumatic, teeny little air compressor. It works really well. I haven't ever had it overheat or anything like that. I have had one other air compressor that I got off of Amazon. I don't know the brand. It was blue, I know that much, and it constantly was overheating and shutting off. So I wasn't a big fan of that particular compressor. The one I got from Harbor Freight has been amazing. Besides the airbrush and the compressor, the other things that you're gonna need, and it's gonna depend on how you want to dye the flowers. I personally, this is my personal preference, you can do what you want to do, but I do not like to use latex paint in my airbrush. Latex paint particles are fairly large in comparison to the teeny tiny little thin space that the air is flowing through the airbrush and needs to pass through. Cleaning is a little bit more difficult. The particles will build up over time and you'll clog up your airbrush. That's usually the biggest issue, is the cleaning and the clogging up of the airbrush. So you gotta be kind of meticulous with that. And I just feel like latex paint as well as glycerin are just not meant to go through the airbrush. So I don't, but again, personal preference, up to you. You do what you wanna do. So if you're going to use acrylic paint. Now, actually, I take that back, step back. There are certain paints that are made specifically for airbrushing. You can absolutely use those if you want. I also really like the brand Golden. They have a line called High Flow, which is a very high pigmented paint, but it's very liquidy. It goes through very well. You don't have to mix anything else to your paint in order to get it through the airbrush. It works through the airbrush really well. And again, super pigmented, so it's gonna be very bright. The color you see coming out of the bottle is the color that's gonna come out of your airbrush. Now, if you're going to use craft acrylic paint, which is what I primarily use if I'm not using the high flow golden paint, if you're not using the high flow golden paint, I like to use craft acrylic paint. So just the little bottles that you get at the craft store, but you do need to mix it with something. And what you're gonna mix it with is some sort of airbrush medium. Now this is from the brand Golden. I like Golden a lot. It's a very high quality art supply company. You can also use Liquitex, also has an airbrush medium, and I'm sure there's a few others out there. Those are the two that I've primarily used the last couple of years. Golden is my favorite. So what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna take your paint. I always use like a little plastic medicine cup, and I'm gonna put a little bit of paint at the bottom, a little bit of the Golden airbrush medium, mix it up. You basically want it the consistency of milk. I don't have a true measurement because it's just gonna depend on how much paint to how much medium you wanna use. So milk consistency is what you're gonna want for the paint to be, and then you're gonna put it in your airbrush, and we're going to dye some flowers. So with that in mind, let's break down the flowers that we're gonna be using in this tutorial. Now the flowers for this particular tutorial, we're not using a ton of different flowers. I am gonna be using 2 different sizes of the dolly. These we're gonna make more of a brighter pink. And then I've got a couple other filler flowers in here. I've got La Fleur, I've got carnation, and I have marigold. These we're going to dye a very light pink. Then I also have a couple carnations that are already been dyed pink. Those were dip dyed a while ago, so we're gonna use those 2 just to mix in. And then I do have 1 singular Paris rose. We carry some of these in the shop that are already pre-dyed like this with that pink center. So I'm gonna use one of those because I couldn't find a ranunculus easily for whatever reason, even though I have an entire rack system of flowers. I couldn't find a ranunculus. It's all right. So we're gonna use this in replace of that. Like I said, we're inspired by the piece, not exactly doing it verbatim. All right, so those are the flowers. Next up, let's get to actually getting our concoctions going for the airbrush, and we'll get these dyed so that we can start working on the centerpiece. Comes to airbrushing, I like to put my flowers on little bamboo skewers. Also, I wanted to show you that even if you have already pre-dyed flowers, you can add more detail and dimension with the airbrush. You can put more paint on top of that. So that's what we're gonna do with these. I'm also gonna start with my lightest color first, and then we'll put in the darker pink afterwards. That way, if I have not gotten all of that light pink out of the airbrush, by the time I put in the hotter pink, once I kind of flush through it, or once I put in that lighter pink, that hot pink will kind of like transition into, I don't know if that makes sense, but I normally go lightest to darkest when it comes to colors when airbrushing if I'm doing multiple different colors. I like mixing and matching and playing around and see what's happening. So here is our airbrush, and I've already attached my little reservoir thingy-majig. There are 3 in this particular, and you use them for different like this one's the bigger one of the top ones. There's also a jar where you can keep the paint in there, especially if you're going to be doing something like on a longer basis, or to keep the paint for a period of time. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so popping paint into here. I need to get a stand though so that I don't tip this. That is something also that's really handy to have. I have a stand that also I can spray all of my excess paint through and clean it out that way. So I'm gonna grab that, and then we'll get to the airbrushing. Here's my little die, do that, and then when you are cleaning it, like that. So there's that. Now we're gonna pop in our paint. I've never done it like this before, I'm always holding it. That's why I always hold it. I just spilled all over the table. Oh well. I feel like all I say during this tutorial is, I'll be right back, which, again, I'll be right back. Everything is fine. We'll be great to go, good to go. Okay, air compressor is on. Let's grab a flower, see how this turns out. I'm going to go kind of far away because I want it to be a very, like a light dusting of the color. If I put it very close, it's going to get more concentration closer to the flower, more color topped on it. The other thing, well, we'll talk about glycerin in a minute. So here we go. I don't know if you can, but now we've got that light color, but then I went a little bit closer underneath. Oh, I'm shaking so bad today. And you can kind of see that it's a little bit darker underneath those petals, but it's just the lightest pink. You can kind of, you see the difference between those two? I don't know why I'm shaking so much, but I'm really shaking. My hands are shaking so bad today. All right, let's get a couple more. Let's do this one that already has a pink center in there too. I'm gonna stay away from the pink center as much as I can, but it's okay if it gets touched up a little bit. It is more ideal to be airbrushing these with a some sort of like catching, because otherwise you get like a mist of paint. That's what it is. So do as I say, not as I do. It's best to have a mask on as well as some sort of like catch for the spray overcast. There's the after. Now these two have already been dyed, but we're going to put more paint on top of them just to see what happens. So one little cap got me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flowers, basically. So there we go. Pink, the light pinks are done. Let's move on to the bright pink next. Okay, so that really bright pink also can go light pink. You're staying far away, like, I think I'm gonna keep one kind of like this. I like that it's a little messy and it's like high and low points. So we're gonna keep one like that, but then the rest I'm gonna make a little bit darker. I know why that one went kind of a light to then the darker. That's because we had a little bit of the light pink left in there. We had a little bit of the light pink left in there, that's why. All right. So the inspiration photo is over on my left, so I'm gonna be looking at that a lot. And I just realized you don't see me anywhere on the camera, so it doesn't matter. Okay, there we go. There's a bunch of like Queen Anne's lace, so we're gonna use this for that. It doesn't have any leaves on it though, so we're gonna take all of the leaves off of these pieces. The other thing I noticed too, I think we're gonna be able to get the quote unquote baby's breath or the Queen Anne's lace. Whoops. That's gonna kind of build our structure. I'm gonna do that and maybe the purple pampas grass. As of right now, I'm just gonna keep the stems. Oh, I say that. I'm gonna turn this one down. We're just gonna kind of play around and see where we want everything to go. Now, the one in the inspiration photo does have leaves on the purple flowers, but not these kind of leaves. I don't really like these leaves, so I think what I'm gonna do, that's where that other leaf comes in. We're gonna use that, I think, somewhere in this. Maybe. Not sure why, but for whatever reason, this particular greenery, they gave like a little bump out at the end of the stem, so it makes it hard to get those leaves off. So I'm just gonna clip it at the bottom where that little bump is. Let's make this go a little bit quicker. And I am gonna hold on to all of this additional leaves and greenery and stuff. We'll use this on a future project at some point when I need like little pieces of grass to come through. Oh, cute. So we've got a big focus here, but then there's also a focus kind of down in the bottom over here. So we're gonna add a couple more there. And I like that one in particular, that it folded down. It's doing the work for me. And this one's got a little bit of a, oh, that's fun. That's fun. All right, this is not in the piece, but I'm gonna put it in here. And then we had at one point these cute little buttercup flowers one spring. I'm gonna throw that in there. As well as some ranunculus, which we're gonna put the ranunculus on the side. I'm basing this off of the inspiration photo. Did have one ranunculus I saw in the arrangement. That's going to be our nod to that. Instead of using the wood flowers, we're just going to use the artificial ones instead. The little acorns that are pine cones that are in there, just because I think they're fun. But you could definitely take them out. So this is going to be more of that white kind of filler that's going to seam throughout this whole centerpiece. We're going to fill in that space so much more. So now you've got to see the direction that we're going. Definitely want it to be a little bit more compact at the bottom. That's where the flowers are going to come in and really shine. Then we've got this, oh, I love it. All right, so we have these faux wax flowers. We're just going to sprinkle those in. We'll have a couple like kind of trailing down. I feel like I might be missing, I've got a couple of these. This takes away from our flowers. Yeah, so we're not going to use this. If it was a slightly different color, then I would use it, but it's just not, it's not the right color. Okay, but let's see what we think of this. Maybe just one. Okay, I think we're ready for flowers. So we're gonna stem those up and then we'll get them in the centerpiece. Now before we start putting in the flowers, I do wanna show you how to stem a flower. It's super, super easy. Take your flower, take a wire stem,
put a little bit of glue on the stem or on the base of the flower. I like to put it on the wire stem, but putting it on the back of the flower is just fine too. So we're gonna take the hot glue that's on the bottom of our stem, put it in there, twist just a little bit, and then you're done. If you pull it in too far and the wire went through too far on the flower, pull it back out slowly, but you're good to go. It's really, really easy. All right, so all of our flowers are now stemmed up. In the inspiration photo, it was very high contrast of light colors in the front, and the more hot pink kind of ones are kind of tucked in the background. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But we definitely have some floral film that can be seen, so it's very easy. Not needing to like add moss or anything, you can take some of like a larger flower, and we're going to conceal that pretty simply. Pretty simple. So I'm gonna make a hole a little bit bigger because this is thicker than a normal wire. I'm gonna add some glue to the base of the flower. Little bubble there. And just try to pop it in there. All right, so we're going slightly off of the inspiration photo now, but I can't help it. It's just so pretty. So now I'm just looking for holes. Okay, so this one, I want it to stand up and kind of peek through, but I don't want this part of the wire to show. Okay, these little green plastic covers, these come on some of our flowers, and I never use them as is. Excuse me. I take them and I wait to use them for when I want a flower. Okay, so I know that this is kind of flat there. We're going to keep it flat, but we are going to add a filler in there to kind of conceal again our floral foam. I'm just going to take one of these other, and I'm going to keep the leaves on that one. And there, now we're done on that. I don't know that I'm going to put a lot of flowers. Well, maybe we'll put one flower this direction. But it's really the other side is the front of this arrangement. Yeah, I think I want to focus on the flowers in the front. So, and I'm still not loving that one the way we've got it. I think maybe we'll have it come out of the bottom. And this is where it's kind of cool. Then you can have like a fun little funky stem if you want.
truth time. So I had filmed the entire tutorial, outro, everything, and once again, good old Mr. Slow-mo, I hit the wrong button while recording. I still don't understand why they have that so easily on the camera. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's wrap up this tutorial, shall we? Look at how cute this turned out. Nice little modern take on a romantic centerpiece. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I also hope if you have never used an airbrush before, that the little mini tutorial we gave you gets you feeling a little bit more confident in that. If not, to make sure to check out the full length, deep dive, very in-depth airbrush tutorial. I don't know why, but all of a sudden the words were not coming from my brain to my mouth. Go check that out. I'll make sure to link that down below if you would like to watch. I think it's like 20 or 30 minutes all about the airbrush. So if you'd like to check that out, and if you do and you still have questions, make sure to drop them down below if you have any other questions about the arrangement itself. But if you do also specifically have questions about airbrushing, I will do my best to answer those questions. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've used it enough now that I can kind of common sense kind of put things together for you guys. So if you have any questions, make sure to drop them down below. Otherwise, give this video a thumbs up. By commenting, thumbs up, sharing, all of that stuff definitely helps our channel, so thank you so much when you do that. And if you haven't yet, but you're really enjoying these tutorials, make sure to subscribe, and don't forget, ring that bell so you are notified every time a new video goes live. One last thing, if you have not yet checked out the 150 style Sola wood flowers, craft supplies, and greenery at ohyourlovely.com, I would invite you to go check it out. But before you do, use the code YouTube30. Grab that, take it with you. On one regular priced order, you will get 30% off. Okay, you guys, I will see you next week for another tutorial. I'm Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, and you, my friends, are absolutely lovely. Bye, guys.